What's up, gamers? Dreamcastguy here, talking today about the complicated topic of PlayStation 5 priced games, because it seems like the next generation is actually going to be some very, very expensive games just to try and pick up anything, whether it's a great sequel, a tiny RPG. It sounds like across the board, prices are about to go up. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not exactly happy about it, but this is also starting an interesting new debate. Now, when I was growing up, if you wanted to try and pick up a cool game, like you walked into a store and you saw something like Jade Empire sitting on the shelf, it's sparkling, it's great, you know it's a good RPG, you've already seen the reviews, you could pick it up, you could take it to the cash register, and typically you'd only pay like 30 or 40 bucks. A lot of games actually were pretty cheap back in the day. Now, this was for two separate reasons. Part of this was the fact that games went on sale very, very quickly, typically just, 100 days after release. It'd be very steeply discounted, but also part of this is the fact that games used to be cheaper at the maximum. The highest price for something like this was 50 bucks, so it would never actually be that expensive. It was always something you could save up and purchase. But now we're having to look at the digital and physical future of the idea that every PlayStation 5 game, no matter how you buy it, sounds like they're going to be specifically 70 bucks. And I want to talk about this because of this article that popped up today, which is gamers will happily pay $70 for PlayStation 5 games, argues an analyst. Now, as you can see, I decided to be a little bit toxic and retweet it with a big old nope and a smiley face, because in my opinion, this is ridiculous. This price is definitely steep. It's kind of weird to be paying $70 for every single game. And I just want to say for a second, people have already been calculating it to other places. Some people, like in Australian stuff, they're paying like $120 per game now. But I also just don't like the idea of the argument that gamers will pay these higher prices even just because the games are becoming better. Like, I definitely believe that games overall have improved. I think that a lot of these experiences we're getting now are some of the best adventures that have ever been developed. But I'm not sure that we're going to be happy about the increased price. This article, though, it brings up some interesting points that I think that we do need to consider despite this rather crazy kind of clickbaity headline. But this is an actual quote from the analyst, so let's look at it. The rise in PlayStation 5 game prices has been a sticky topic since it was announced, but NPD's Matt Piscatella has argued that gamers will happily pay the boosted price point. Speaking as part of the Virtual Economy podcast, the analyst argued that he believes the increase can be ascribed to market demand as opposed to inflated development costs. Now, we're going to get more into this in a second, but basically what he's saying is that it's not that developers are actually needing more money. People are definitely getting enough profit. If you ever look at some of the stories like the freaking CEO of Blizzard getting a $400 million bonus and stuff, Bobby Kotick is swimming in billions of dollars. If they were short on money, they could actually make that back. They could just pay their employees more and their CEO less. But let's face it, this isn't a profit problem. It's straight up just a greed problem. But the interesting part of this is that he basically says that it's that gamers are willing to pay more. It's that gamers kind of in their hearts want to spend that extra money. And that is definitely where I disagree. Now, moving on here, here's his official quote. You do pay a premium, and you've been paying a premium for years to play a game on day one. This is not different. If companies want to make these case that they're doing it because of X, Y, or Z, I guess you could try and make that case. But you look for the financial statements of the earning reports, you can't argue the other side. The market demand is the market demand. Now, what he's basically saying is the fact that if you're buying a game day one, no matter what it is, of course you're paying the highest price possible. Like, here's just a random freaking European PlayStation 3 game I have next to me called Fist of the North Star 2 Kin's Rage. Somebody at some point paid $60 for this, probably, and it wasn't because they were like the biggest nerd on the planet. Well, maybe they are. It is a pretty weeby game, but it's also just the fact that they're an incredibly dedicated fan of this series. They wanted to pay $60 because they want this experience so much, right? I think I understand this argument of the fact that they can get away with charging more, so they're going to try it. But I still don't like this argument because he's already basically in here already saying they're making enough money. They're not doing this to break even. They're doing this to break you. Sony became the first platform holder last week to attach a $70 price point to its first-party games, following in the footsteps of Activision with Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War and 2K Sports' NBA 2K21. There is flexibility to the Japanese giant's PS5 launch game pricing, with Sackboy Big Adventure and the standalone version of Miles Morales costing less. So even this right here, I feel like kind of lends credence to the statement that they realize that this is a little bit of a scam. This is a little bit of a dumb racket. Like, not to try and compare Sony to Microsoft, because I don't want to make this a console war video, but just kind of consider the fact that right now, Microsoft is still doing so much through Games Pass. They've realized that yes, we could, if we wanted, sell a game for $50, or we could sell a game for $80, but no matter what, people are going to get it through Games Pass, because they are so incredibly cheap. Like, here's actually still, what is this, a $25 gift card I haven't redeemed yet, and I'm going to use this just to get Games Pass. The next time my Games Pass runs out, I'll just use this on it because it's just so freaking cheap. And I want to talk more about this in a second, but I still think that value is incredibly important on a game-by-game basis to gamers. But let me continue with the statement. Game prices have stayed the same since 2005, when Call of Duty 2 first went to $60 on the Xbox 360, and we've basically stayed there ever since, Pescatella has continued. Now, a lot of people say that the rise in base prices for the higher tier premium games is needed to offset development costs, inflation, or whatever, and all these arguments seem to fall flat. I'm glad he's saying this because you know what? This is the hard truth. This is absolutely the hard truth that no game studio actually wants to admit. God of War sold millions of copies. Spider-Man on PlayStation 4 sold 10 million copies. These games are so ridiculously successful at the $60 price point. Like, just kind of do some mental math here for a second. They made hundreds of millions of dollars off these projects, and they're very happy about that. They're doing sequels, they're doing spin-offs, They're clearly already funded to do things that are bigger, better, and brighter. So why is it now they're trying to suddenly claim that they need extra money? They can't take the financial angle. They can no longer make the excuse that they need more cash. They just want to ask for more cash. Going back to his statement here to try and finish this off, to the part that I definitely hate the most, but what doesn't fall flat is that for some of these premium games, if the $10 increase was implemented, people would happily pay it. They might grumble about it, but they would certainly pay it. These price sensitivity particular day one purchase suggests that. So basically he's saying, these companies are absolutely going to take you for a ride. This is something that's been happening a lot in a lot of different experimental ways, and I've always kind of disliked it. A lot of these studios have been experimenting with different ways to try and get you more financially invested in each of their major projects. Like, I've actually talked about this. Some of the Call of Duty games lately have been fantastic. I definitely think it's really fun playing a lot of them. They're tight, they have good multiplayer, the campaigns are short, but they're nice and flashy. But the thing they try and do is, after selling you a $60 game or an $80 special edition or something, then they want to try and include every single microtransaction possible. You want some skins, you want some upgrades, you want some nice little fancy loot boxes, pay that price. And the thing is, they're not doing this as a punishment, they're not trying to do this for any real crazy thing, it's just the fact that they know they can get away with it. And right now, I think Sony is trying to set the new bar because they know, unfortunately, we're going to pay for it. I'm a hardcore Sony fanboy. I love my PlayStation 5. I'm so ready to freaking get it. I still love my PS4. This is the Castlevania collection on my PS4. But right now, I think I'm getting a little bit more hyped for the Series X because, like, while right now we haven't seen too much from Microsoft, it seems like they're trying to set up a more interesting and alluring next generation for gamers. I mean, I have to buy these games for $70 each. I want to review them. I want to talk about these games, but I am a little bit disappointed about the idea that if they can get away with this price point, how long before games are $80 each? How long until they're $90 each? How much is it going to cost for the next Skyrim? When Elder Scrolls 6 drops, is that game going to be cross-platform, but, free on Games Pass on Xbox and $80 or $100 on the PlayStation 5? It is a very complicated argument that I don't think has an easy answer. I think people want to try and pretend that there's this cut and dry case of light and dark, good and evil, but if there's one thing about this business, it's that things are definitely never quite transparent. I do think that this is a bad move. I definitely think that this is something that's just screwing over the gamers because they'll absolutely accept it. But trying to act like they're going to be happy about higher prices is flat out wrong. But what do you think? Have you had a chance to actually look at these articles? Do you believe it? Is this all just a bunch of mess? And what I'm most curious about, have you managed to get a PlayStation 5 pre-order or an Xbox Series X pre-ordered? Tell me which systems you have. Tell me which ones you're excited about. And I guess we're all getting ready, counting down the final days till the next generation. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. And yes, I am recording this video in the middle of the night. Let's see here. It's like 11 p.m. Let me look at my phone. Yep, it is 11 p.m. So I'm going to edit this in the morning. Much love to you guys. Sweet dreams, I guess. Well, that's not going to make sense when I upload this. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.